Hello and welcome. Today we've got Tommy Tacoma and Ben Pellom, and today we are going to be discussing the northern polar area of the moon. They say they've found close-up structures, and they think so much is going on the backside of the moon that we are completely unaware of, which we are going to be discussing and disclosing today and analyzing their research. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to our Telegram channels and to nicholasveniamin.com for my free email updates. And if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, I will leave the link below in the description for the full interview, unless, of course, myself and the guests can choose our words wisely due to the insane censorship that's happening right now. Tom and Ben, thank you for joining me. How are you and what have you been up to? We'll go with Tom first.
Well, it's great to be here and appreciate the opportunity to come on your show. There's not enough time in the world, maybe not enough time in the day to really share with what's going on, but it's great to be here. Maybe we can give you a couple snippets of some real interesting things.
Well, I can't wait. It's one of my favorite topics, actually. Like I said just before we began, for me, the biggest mysteries is God and what's out there in space, who we are. But when I say God, I don't mean religion, I mean God. So it's really interesting. Ben, how about you? Well, what have you been up to?
Well, I've just been researching along up in Plaskett Crater and a few other places. I've also been working on a manuscript for a book. It's eventually will be out, and it's an autobiographical book with my lunar research tacked on the end of it. So, but anyway, we've tried to put this together and come up with something interesting for your viewers. I'm really glad to have Tom Hubert along with us today. He's a very good researcher.
Well, I'm honored to have you both. Thank you so much, Ben, for introducing us to Tom. So you guys are saying that the side of the moon that faces us constantly, that side of the moon, do you think it's empty, that side? Do you think it's just, bored? And the other side of the moon is completely filled? I mean, how would you summarize what the moon is, what's on the moon, what we can see, what we can't see? Tom, why don't you tell us? Why don't you go for it?
Well, almost anything I could say would sound so crazy. I understand that. I'm not saying what's on the backside of the moon. I'm saying what's on the moon. I'm talking about the whole moon. And isn't that crazy? We've all seen the pictures. We know about the gray wasteland. But there is so much more there. And just in the last 2 months, I've been discovering these pictures. I studied the moon a while back, and I wasn't good enough at what I did. I came back to it 2 months ago, thanks to Ben. And now, once again, I have many, many pictures, all NASA pictures, of course, that are showing me, believe it or not, and this is a psychological thing too, showing me that the moon is entirely covered with structures. There's no ground. Now, I know that sounds unbelievable. It completely does, and even to say it, but it's not the only place that's like that. And why? Please tell me why nobody else has found pictures like this and brought this out. This is my biggest question. I ask myself, why me? So there's a lot of so much more there. It's so unbelievable that I feel I'm going to have to write a book.
There you go.
Ben gave me that idea, and really there's no other way to impart what I know from many thousands of hours of going over pictures. So.
Absolutely. Now, Tom, I've got a camera. I believe it's the Nikon P1000. It's a very, very good camera. I don't know if you're aware of it. And I can zoom into the moon with that, and I see craters. Okay, I can see the craters. Is that part of the moon, or would you say that that's also a structure?
It's part of the illusion. Um,
I like
in,
this. I like the crazy stuff. I want to hear it.
this is so crazy. This is so crazy. Believe me. Talk about going out on a limb. But if you can take the time to look at the pictures that I've shown so far and the ones that are coming, and they always get better over time because you have to process them. If you take the time to do that, you will see for yourself. You can't make this up. I mean, I certainly can't. I've been doing this for a whole 4 years. I work a computer with my ankles. Okay, I'm not a computer guy. I basically adjust brightness and contrast, and that's about it. And what I see is astonishing. And I feel like I need to run around in the streets with my hair on fire. Oops, I don't have it. To get people's attention. It's very strange not being able to get people's attention.
Tom, we know that this, even my whole channel is about, the truth. And we've been lied to by the media. So, whatever we really talk about, whether it's to do with, obvious things like Biden and the deep state and whatever, it's all crazy. So why don't you just throw the spanner in the works and just tell us what illusion is the craters? What is it really? And then we'll slowly start moving into what the moon is and the structures and what you think is really going on the moon.
Are you asking me that or Ben?
Let me ask you, Tom, first, and then I'm going to ask Ben to interject as well.
Sorry.
It's okay.
All of the things that we see on the moon that identify it, when we look at it, big craters where, how when they hit things splash out, ejecta, all of that is colored buildings made to look like exactly what we think it is. We think it's craters. And this is true with just about everything I've done. I think my hallmark is I'm great on zooming in. And when you zoom, that's what made me fall in love with Ben. That's what he told me about the worldwide telescope. You zoom in and you're going to see stuff, and sure enough. And so when you zoom in close enough, and who would do that? And why would you do that, right? It seems silly if you think you're looking at sand. Why would you zoom in on it? But surprise, when you zoom in on it, it's a whole new world, literally. And the same is true for every hard rock in the solar system. Okay. And for the most part, all the buildings are exactly the same, except for the moon. The moon is shown to be exceptional in what these structures look like, and I'm just beginning to scratch the surface of this. But Mars is where I've spent the majority of my time in the last 4 years. And Mars is another place that's unto itself, because it's the most unusual place, I'm guessing, in the universe. It's a real strange place. So, yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Okay. No, you did great. Thank you. But Ben, would you like to tell us as well, answer that question for us as well? If you like to interject.
Yes. I like Tom. I've been zooming in also, and some of it is related to what I discussed with you on the phone about a week ago. I guess it was, Nick. I'll show some of that in just a bit. And if what I'm looking at is real, and at this point I think it is, it's definitely going to be like Tom just described. And then if considering all of that, I believe it was SingularityHub.com reported with a few other places that the moon has enough oxygen to sustain 8 billion people, 100,000 years. So it looks to me like as John Lear says, I'm convinced now there is a breathable atmosphere there. And there's another thing that it really stands out in the NASA website, solarsystem.nasa.gov. There's a quote in there on the front page. It says, "Earth, the only planet we know of with life and lots of it." And then when you bank that against what we're talking about and what we're going to show, it's
Wow.
we can see that a lot's been kept from the public.
Now,
So-
you've both used telescopes and other means to zoom into the moon now for years. Now, NASA tells us that the moon is 236,000 miles away. Do you think that the moon is really that far?
Probably not. Probably not. And I agree with what you found with your own scope, that Nikon P1000, I believe you said, and that it appeared it came through as being a lot closer, and I think it probably is much closer. And
Yeah.
regarding the back of the moon, most of my research is actually on the front part, but the satellites that collect the imagery goes all the way around the moon, and there's sunlight back there too. So I can capture the images for Plaskett Crater. Now, Plaskett Crater is the most different, Nick, I've ever seen at all. It's whoever the beings are there, they got to be very different than the others because of the you'll see the large close-up images and the equipment and the stuff they've got set up is just astounding. To me, it is, and it's beautiful in its own way also. So I'd like to go up there and look it over.
So, Ben, what is it exactly about their equipment and their setup that defines it to you that they are very different to us?
Okay. What I did is, the conveyance alleyway, I named the little, like a bowl. If a bowling ball gets off the flat spot, it's like an alley going down. Well, most of these places have that. It's huge. It's hard to say just how big it is, but you can look at it in the pictures, you'll see it. And they obviously transport things in, raw materials, we'll say, and then they manufacture something and then take it out. It looks like also, just looking at the alleyway, that they go up and down also. So it's a very, very busy place. And on both sides of this track, if you will, the alleyway, is huge equipment. It's absolutely compacted all the way down the line. What I did, I got in the alleyway and just from left to right, I started moving and capturing pictures for today's presentation. And I guess it's hard to describe it, except it looks like industrial production equipment. When I compare it to the other images that I'm getting, it's different. It just doesn't look the same. For one thing, when in the display in that particular crater, the equipment seems to be set up, even though the alleyway goes from left to right straight across. The equipment seems to be set up in an angle. It's diagonal, if you will, a mild diagonal, and then one right on top of the other. That is strange also. So ordinarily you'd think things would be orderly like most places. You'd have one stack on top of the other stack, but in that crater, it's different. It's set up diagonally, one line on the other as you move across. Yeah. So that's the best I could do in describing it.
How about Ben? Tom, is there anything that you would like to add to that could, fit more to the puzzle that we're putting together?
Well, it is a huge puzzle. And the only clues we have are the pictures. And regarding the alleyway that Ben is talking about, is really incredible. I have found that the moon has concentric circles that go all the way around, starting from each pole. That I don't know how far apart they are, but they only show up in the dark craters. You see the line go through it. And so if you start at the top and work your way down, going to individual dark craters, you will find that the line continues. There's one, then the next, and the next, all the way down. At one point, I counted about 12 or 14 lines of these concentric lines that go around the moon. And I wanted to do a video on it, but it's really time consuming, and it requires a lot of being able to show it in a way where people can understand it. And that's something I wanted to say about our pictures. You know, it's hard to show a picture and have somebody understand without having any, you know, if you've never seen this kind of thing before, and you see this picture, it's hard to make sense out of it sometimes. And so for me, people have asked me, show us your best pictures. Well, what is my best picture? I'm not sure which one that is. It's a body of evidence, and it adds up really, really quickly. But to show snapshots to people, sometimes it's confusing. And well, that's all. I just wanted to say that it does take a little bit of, I can't think of the word right now, but perspective, I guess. And but nonetheless, the pictures are going to be great. You'll enjoy them.
I want to ask you this as well, Tom. Are there any cameras or telescopes that are powerful enough on this planet that anyone can have access to, that is able to see exactly the structures on the moon? And if not, is there a way that we could independently manufacture a telescope and, you know, that will be able to do that?
I have seen, there's a YouTube guy, his name is, his YouTube channel is called Bruce Sees All. And in his early days, he was showing some very, very strange stuff. But, you know, there's something to this whole thing about being able to see with a telescope. There's more to it. You know, here we go on the really weird side again. Okay. And I'm not saying that I necessarily believe this, but it sounds like the best explanation to me is, how come we can't see that? I mean, we have thousands of telescopes looking up there all the time, you know, really strong ones. And how come nobody sees anything? It just doesn't seem possible. That doesn't jive with my pictures. You should be able to see what's in these NASA pictures, right? But we don't. And why is that? And I don't know, you know, somebody said once that maybe it's a hologram over the face of the moon. How preposterous is that, right? But people have videos of a transparent wave going all the way across the surface of the moon. Now, what was that? That was so unusual. And the other thing is too, and this is maybe the biggest thing of all, it's in the human psyche. Right? From the time you were a child, when you were watching cartoons, any depiction of the moon was a gray wasteland, even going back way longer than that, a couple hundred years. Any depiction ever of the moon was a barren wasteland. That's what we know, right? It's in the cartoons. Well, we've seen the astronauts and trotting around up there. You know, that was just like what we expected. But I have to tell you, and all of this is sad to me. You know, up until just recently, when Ben got me on the telescope, I used to think that we landed on the moon at least once. I don't believe that anymore. There's no place to land. How strange is that? And one last thing, the other thing that makes me sad is, you know, Nicholas, over the last 4 years, one lie after another I discovered from NASA. And as far as I can tell, they lie about every single thing, even things they don't have to lie about. And sometimes, particularly when I'm looking at Mars, if they spend a lot of time talking about something, they really have something to hide. You better look close. I don't believe one thing NASA says. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, I accept that and I understand. NASA is deep state. We all know this. The viewers know that. You know, and I
Yes,
respect you for speaking your mind. And this is what this platform's about, speaking our minds, you know, to put things together and see, you know, find the truth. Now, before we go into the pictures, but I can't wait, by the way, you said that the Mars is a very strange place. Can you tell us why, please, Tom?
It is. It has extreme diversity. You know, it's every time I talk about this, I think how crazy it sounds. How crazy is this? But, you know, one of the things NASA talks about is the dunes on Mars. It's always a narrative with NASA. There's a lot of dunes on Mars. Why? Because it's windy and it's sandy and it's dry. And so that's conducive for dunes. And so, you know, they have quite a few pictures of dunes. Actually, maybe thousands, I don't know. You cannot imagine without looking at these pictures, must be billions, millions anyway, of dunes of all different kinds of shapes. The types that are really super sculpted or big long ones I call worms, there's millions of them. There isn't enough sand on the planet to make all these dunes. And in these sculpted dunes, these magnificent, beautiful sculpted dunes are cities unto themselves, made in the shape of a dune. Don't ask me why. They are incredible.
So really, the truth could be that we've got Earth as the world of humanity, and we have other worlds of other beings in the same solar system, and that could be the truth. And they've been lying to us all along. I mean, that could be a possibility, right?
No doubt about it. Yeah.
I think it's a reality. Yeah.
Yeah. You just, there isn't one thing that I've, you know, and like I said, if they put it in front of you, then you better look close. That's a really odd thing that they do, you know. But it's really, Nicholas, truly what we have here is unimaginable. And Ben said something earlier, you know, about it being real. You know, when you're looking at this and you're thinking, is this real? Am I crazy? I gotta be crazy. No, I can't be. I've seen this before. I question myself because it's so unbelievable, but yet there are the pictures. So you know, it's something else, and it does take a certain amount of getting used to looking at these kinds of pictures. Okay, that's why I say sometimes a snapshot, there's no perspective, you know, but as I said, we're still going to see great things here, things that, you know, call it what you will, it's not supposed to be there. and, you know, that says it all right there.
Ben, is there anything that you would like to add to that?
Yeah, regarding the sand dunes, I was watching a prominent, I'll say a channel that I was very familiar with, discussing those dunes. And part of that conversation was that these dunes have been there for forever and they don't change. So if they're real sand and blowing around, they would change. And the person saying it just didn't pick up on it. Also had, one time I had a prominent person in ufology kind of didn't laugh at me or anything, but it was said that, you mean you see all this stuff on the moon? And we have all of these large telescopes on Earth looking all the time, these scientific centers with big scopes, and they're not seeing this. In other words, I was telling a lie based on this person. I won't call a name, but that was the reaction. if we can't see it in a telescope, then you're not finding anything up there. Is what was conveyed to me.
Well, it's a bit like them saying, "Oh, if it's not on the news, then it's not true." But maybe the whole system is weaponized against us to keep us suppressed.
Absolutely. There is one other. Excuse me, Nick.
No,
Nick.
please.
There is one other thing that it could be a big help and possibly a hindrance to what Tom and I are doing. The James Webb telescope it's I know you've seen some stuff on it. It's supposed to be so powerful that it's something like 100 times more powerful than Hubble. You can see way out there. I mean, way out there. And I communicated with the support team and asked them if they were going to show anything or show any images in our solar system that would go on the virtual globe of the telescopes that Tom and I use. And the answer came back that said the focus will be very narrow. In other words, you won't get a panorama because the thing is so powerful and so focused. But they said we do expect to overlay images onto our existing images. So how that's going to work out, I don't know. If by then it will be free to talk about the things we're talking, and the press will kind of fess up and become honest, then maybe the James Webb will let us have crystal clear pictures of what Tom and I are going to be showing you today. That they'll be just 1,000 times better. And so, on the other hand, they may keep it from us. We should know fairly soon if it's going to be that way.
Okay. Well, let's have a look at the pictures, and then once we've had a look at the pictures, then we can go into, after that, we can go into
Absolutely.
what you think is really going on and why they are hiding this from us. Okay. Yeah. Tom, how does that sound?
Sounds great.
Yeah, let's go for it. I've let you share the screen. So I'm waiting.
Looks like Ben. Do you want to lead us into that?
I can if you would prefer.
It doesn't matter. I don't care. It doesn't matter.
If you're ready, go ahead. You can share then, Tom. If you're ready, that's great.
Okay. All right. Okay. So yes. Okay. Y'all seeing what I'm looking at here?
Not quite, Tom. Have you clicked on the little green button in the center lower part down there on your status? So click your little share button at the bottom of the screen in the middle there. It's a little arrow pointing up on a green background back there, a little icon.
That. Okay.
There we are.
Look like we're off and running here, Tom. Okay.
That's good. You know, I do this thing with my ankles, like I said.
You're doing good, Tom.
Okay. So you got me there? You see the picture?
I see pictures, but we don't see.
You don't see.
We just see your icons. Yeah.
All right. Well,
unless
that's
there's
not
a
very
delay.
exciting either.
Were you going to open your video, Tom?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let's see. I'm so sorry. I don't know what to do about that. We tried this the other day and it worked fine. So, okay, Ben, why don't you go ahead and maybe I can just get a list of some pictures to click on, I guess.
Oh, okay. That'll be fine. Yeah, that'll be fine, Tom.
Okay.
I know one time when I was on with Nick, I tried to show an MP4 video and it wouldn't show it. And so the suggestion was to go into the settings of Zoom itself in the advanced area there, and then click in there and it would work. But I'll go ahead and start, and then that'll give you a little time to do some checking here. Okay, let's see here. All right. And let's see now, Nick. I've got to find my stuff here, as they say. Okay. Nick, you see this okay?
Yeah, yeah, I see it. Tom, do you see it as well?
Nick, are
Yes,
you
I've got
hearing
it.
me? Oh, okay. We are now inside of Plaskett Crater that I told you about. The equipment was so beautiful. You see the diagonal formation of their equipment above the line there, Nick.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and it's so big, and it just makes you wonder what in the world are they producing there. Just a beautiful, beautiful equipment, and that's the conveyance alleyway that I spoke of there. And I'll go on down the line here and select another one. We're just moving down the alleyway, and this is what it just compacted all of it together. If you could string it together, it would be, Lord only knows how far. It seemed like I did, Nick, on one of our other shows. I did something like, I believe in this crater, it's maybe as much as 20 miles across it, and something like maybe 10 to 15 miles wide of what I could see. And in order to do that, I had to actually pull up this same place in Google Earth Pro, which will let you measure. In the Worldwide Telescope app, unfortunately, it will not let you measure. So this is not only unusual equipment, this is a big area that they're in here. Okay, and I'll select another one here.
So Ben, are you saying
And
that?
these pictures are?
Yeah, Ben, are you
Go
saying?
ahead, Nick.
Yeah, are you saying that? Is this what the pictures that you're showing right now? Is this the side of the moon that's facing us?
No, this is on the backside in the North Polar area backside.
I mean,
This is plastic.
how was you able to, see it on the backside if the backside
Well,
never
see,
faces?
see, I'm not using a physical telescope. I'm depending on the imagery that's captured by NASA itself as the satellites go around, the moon, and as the moon rotates and whatnot. And they've collected pictures on both sides of the moon. And this imagery I'm showing here is right off of their own imagery that they put on their virtual globe in the Worldwide Telescope app. So this is not necessarily facing us.
Got it.
And the satellite imagery, it deals with the whole moon. It goes all the way around.
Wow, I never knew that.
Yeah, it does. And isn't this just a wonderful, beautiful image here, Nick? And your viewers, I think, will really appreciate this. This is, good gracious, they're manufacturing something on a really gargantuan scale,
So
And
yeah.
I'll just go ahead and just.
So that line.
Here's-
You know that line that goes across, Ben?
Yes, sir.
It looks like a road or something, or
Yeah,
a walk.
it's the equivalent. I look at it as the equivalent of like a railway system that would bring things in. It's not a railway system, but apparently it has the ability, tracks or something that whatever's put on it can be moved. And as Tom talked about, these circles going all the way around the moon. So the moon must be one humongous manufacturing plant. And I'm assuming that whatever these guys are making here, they would just drop it into this track and then ship it on around the moon to the point where it would go out to whoever's going to get it. I'm just making that assumption. But
Can I say something?
Yes, sir.
Pardon me for interrupting. Ben, if you could
No, it's fine.
increase that size a little bit. Nicholas, when you look at these pictures, try to look into the picture, okay? I always tell people to focus on one thing. one thing in the picture and then move your eyes from there. Because otherwise, much of what you see can look like oatmeal. If you do that, you'll find it to be even more amazing.
Got you, Tom.
Yeah.
Tom, I'll hand it back to you now if you're ready.
Oh boy. Well, we've gone from smooth to being real bumpy now. I'm just going to have to search these files out and click on them. I'm sorry for that. I thought I had this worked out. So it's going to cut down on the number of pictures that I've wanted to show you because of all the time that it takes. So is it back to me, or am I? See, I'm sharing the screen now. Okay.
So just before you do that, Tom, or whilst you're trying to get that up, could I also ask, that picture, the one that Ben was just showing us that's on the screen right now,
Yes.
is that view the equivalent of us looking at Earth if we were to be on a plane, in respect to distance?
Yeah. I think it would be like looking down on maybe like a super mall from maybe 2,500 feet or something like that. Only a lot more involved on the ground there. But that's what it looks like to me.
That close. That's really close.
Yeah. And, this is always a question is, how big is something? It's really hard to know, or how close are we, that kind of thing. Because of my experience, and I assume Ben too, we do get a little bit of a feel for that. But it's really hard to know in the end how close it is. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, if I'm remembering right, I asked the question, I believe, if I'm remembering right, that the satellite, the Worldwide Telescope, takes its pictures. I believe they put it at 20 meters, which would be about 3 times that in footage, if I'm remembering correctly. And it was really telling on what they're really hiding, because they talked about on Earth in their they use Microsoft Bing, like if you use the maps. On Earth, they go down to something like 5 meters, very much closer they let you get. But when you get up there on the moon imagery, they pull back. The only reason this is showing really good is because I actually captured it and zoomed in really tight, and then went ahead and went from there. And this within this PC that I've got a mouse wheel that will let us really draw it up. But in answer to Nick's statement there, it's I think it's going to be more 20 meters or more. It's going to be the closest that they get. And some of the things I'm actually beginning to believe is with Tom's finding and with my finding about all the stuff that's on the moon, I think maybe there could be an algorithm written into the satellite imaging technology that when it moves away from the shadows, places like where I got this, that then the resolution is far, far less, which makes it very difficult to get a big picture like this with this kind of clarity. So I think they may be actually doing that, just dropping the resolution when they get out on the flat parts. Okay, Tom, I'll let you get back to your.
They have quite a few arrows in that quiver. There's a lot of things that they do. What I found to be really strange about the Worldwide Telescope and what we're looking at, in the white area, which we can't see really here, but in any area other than the black craters, you have this obfuscation that's it looks very pixely, but it's not pixels, I don't think. And so in the white areas, when using the telescope, it's really difficult to get any good pictures. And then when you look at the craters, and when you start out, and this is where I should have given you a perspective shot. When you start out, you got to understand, you don't see anything but blackness. Okay. It's black. And so we have to pull it out. And so, and this is true with every picture. It's always been true, almost every picture. You have to pull it out somehow, and it doesn't never just presents itself. And like I told Ben, I said, Ben, why on earth would you zoom in on the blackness of a crater? I don't understand what led you to that. God Almighty, I think, led you to that. Who would do that? And so because of that, we have stuff that looks like this. And so I'll just gonna zoom a little bit, and we'll get some more pictures in real quick. And I want to throw in a couple Mars pictures at the end too.
Please.
So what is this, right? Who knows? Is it enlarging for you guys? I'm zooming in. Are you getting that?
I'm not seeing anything.
You don't have a picture on the screen right now?
It's just my stuff here. Let's see just a second, Tom. Let me pull mine down and see what we can get here. Maybe so. No, we don't have it yet, Tom.
Go on. Is this? I think
you'll need to hit your share.
It says I'm screen sharing.
That's right. Yeah, that's you with the folder, right? With the pictures.
And I pulled a picture up on my end, but you're not getting it, right?
I can see lots of pictures.
Yeah, see, I click on a picture to open it up. Now let me try this. Nothing?
No.
Nothing. Okay, well, gosh, I'm just so disappointed with this, you guys. I don't know what to say. We ran over this yesterday to make sure there were no issues.
What happens if you right click?
Yeah, right click and go to open.
And it doesn't do that.
It opens for me, but not for you. And I'm screen sharing. It tells me that. Oh my goodness.
Hey, Tom, can see if you can, it talks about sharing. Sign in to the Zoom app, and you're already in there. Click the share screen located in your meeting, and then switch to the advanced tab, and then select video, and then the Zoom video player will kick in at that point.
So I think I need to exit out of screen share, do I not?
Or unless you want to send Ben Pellom some of the pictures.
Yeah.
Well, I could do that, Ben, if you want to do that.
Yeah, you could just open up, open what you can today, and we'll get these issues, figured out later. I guess it's.
All right, I'm going to stop the share and come back to it.
That could work. So what I'll do is let me stop it for all of us, and then we can let's have a look. There we are. So that's us again. So do you want to go back on, Tom,
there you
on your own and see if you can follow that?
All right, you guys see that, right?
Yeah, we got you on there now, Tom.
Oh, you got me on there. Okay, so.
That's it. So now you're sharing, Tom. We can see it.
Okay, let's try this.
That's it. We can see it now. It's come up.
Sure
wow. So this is the moon, yeah?
This is the moon.
What else could it be?
Yeah.
Hey, put a toothpick in there, Nick.
It's not Africa.
And I got to say something. Should we go back on now? Or are you recording?
Yeah, we're recording. We haven't stopped recording. Yeah.
Okay. So sorry.
No, that's okay.
The thing is, Ben's very good at saying what crater it's in, where it's at. Often you have coordinates. On the other hand, I'm the exact opposite. And the way the way Ben does it really is the way you should do it. But you know what? It doesn't matter. Pick a crater. Go zoom in on any one of them. Almost all of them. Some of them you can't get anything, but there's so much of it. It's not like a big deal. This is why people have found a thing or two once in a while, and you have coordinates. It's a big deal. You don't have to do it. Like I said, just pick a crater, and it's going to have something in it. Some things are better than other things.
That's a great image you got there, Tom. I love that image.
Yeah, this is quite a picture here. What is it now? These look like, this is industrial buildings. This is what it looks like. Long, large buildings. When you compare that to what's over here, it's much different. They are next to each other and sort of on top of each other, but these just look like some kind of very long buildings. Now, can you see what looks like stripes on those buildings?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can you? Okay, now I'm not going to say this definitively at this time, but I believe that these stripes are alleyways between short rows of buildings that make up what looks like big, long buildings. Does that make sense to you? These aren't just one solid building from one to the other. They are rows of little buildings making up what looks like one long building. I can get back to that later. It's not definitive. I've seen some good pictures that looks like these are just segments that end up from a distance looking like a big long building. But this could be an industrial area, and this could be a housing area in the same area. So, this is where they commute to work, I guess. So, okay, I'm going to find another picture here, and this is where it gets a little rocky. These things are.
Tom, could I interject here?
Yeah.
As you move over to the viewer's right side that you referred to as a housing area, I see a lot of things in there that we've talked about, where it's not as big as the other stuff, but it's very similar to all the stuff that we're finding all over the moon's place. So it could be housing, absolutely could be housing. And I really liked the proximity of these two separate kinds of structures together in this image.
Yes.
So that's very telling. Yeah. Okay, Tom, I'll get out of here.
And and one other thing, Nicholas, does this look like pasty, sandy wasteland to you?
No, it looks like solid structures going on there. I mean,
Yes,
when you zoom in, I've heard people say, "Oh, it looks like pixels," and you said earlier oatmeal, but because you've actually zoomed in onto the moon, to you, obviously, they're structures, and I completely get that, and they look very, very interesting.
I understand. So what I'm hearing you say is they're very, very interesting, but you can't confirm them as structures. Is that what you're saying?
Well, if no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that some people will see it that way. But if I was to zoom into the moon and see that, I wouldn't see it as pixels. I would see that as structures because they're very well formulated. You can see they've been thought out, and you can see that it's a land as well by the edge.
Yes.
absolutely. Yeah.
So do you have a new picture on your screen?
We
now?
do.
Yes.
Okay. So this will give you a little bit of perspective, and this is a completely different interior than the one we just looked at. So this is unfortunately I couldn't get the whole thing in the picture, but this just kind of gives you a little bit of perspective. It would be nice to know, how far these are from one side to the other. But of course, we don't know that right now. So that's just a kind of a perspective shot. Well, I'll go ahead and zoom in on it. I'm afraid of the resolution going away on the zoom in. But so what we have here are apparently, now this is the orientation, okay? It would be super nice if this were straight up and down, because it's easier to look at, but you almost have to turn your head to see this. And I think this is because of the function of the worldwide telescope and the perspective as you try to rotate the globe. You can't always get it just the way you want it. It's just like Google Earth. You can't always get it just the way you want it. So I've got some more close-ups of this. Let's see what we got going on here. You know, it gets crazy with all these different titles for these things. Goodness gracious. Okay.
You got a lot of good stuff there, Tom.
It just, you know, it's really.
Is that a crater then?
This is another crater. This is a different crater. And this is what this one has in it. Quite different. And these things here are, and I am gonna rotate this. I'm gonna show you a picture where it's straight up and down, but these are cylindrical buildings here, cylindrical high-rise buildings. And it has to do with the way the light reflects off of them. And one of the things you're going to see on the moon and with structures, you see a lot of buildings with black dots, or sometimes it's a black stripe, or an oval. These are, I think, either windows or openings. I think they're openings. I think that's the garage, you know. I could be wrong, but, you know. So let's see what I have, if I can hopefully locate another one here quickly.
Do you think they have a sky like we do?
A sky. Like a blue sky? No.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, it could be a gray sky. I don't know.
I don't know. You know, what's it like when they look up? You know, I'm not really sure. Why can't I find this one?
Because their sun is the same as our sun.
True.
If I could interject,
Please.
I'm like Tom. I don't know for sure what it is, but I have heard John Lear, and it seemed like others say that the sky is a yellowish, a light yellowish beige-like color that is caused by some kind of reflections or something.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, Ben, because recently, you know, that's another thing, Nicholas. Every single picture we have ever seen of the moon is always black and white.
Yeah,
right? It's
absolutely.
always black and white. Well, guess what? I found a couple color pictures, and there's a lot of color on the moon, a lot of color, and much of it is sort of a brownish color, which, if that's reflecting up, maybe that's what gives the sky its color. I don't know.
That could be.
So here I've tilted the picture straight up and down, and zoomed in a little bit more. And now it's not as crisp as I'd like it to be, and it almost never is. But you can certainly see that there's a lot of small structures and different kinds of structures here, and then these very long, tall buildings and cylindrical buildings. I've seen other places as well, and I have a picture for you at the end of this. It's a Mars picture. It's, you know, fairly astounding. So let me see what else I have here.
While you're looking for that, do you have anything where we can see the moon from a distance and you can slowly zoom into it, like a video recording?
You know, I'm sure I do, but I have almost 23,000 files, and sometimes it takes me a little while to locate something, and I don't want to waste your time doing that.
Your viewers, if I could interject, can
Please.
go to my YouTube site, just under Ben Pellom, and there's a video there where I use Hermite Crater as an example, so the viewer can actually go to the moon and then locate structures and then capture images. In that particular video, it does show the globe and then the zoom into it. So if the viewers want to do that, they can just go to my YouTube channel. And also at the foot of the pages on PellomPlanetaryResearch.com, I have that same video at the foot of the pages of images there, so they your viewers can go and actually experience a zoom going into the moon. So okay, Tom, I'll get out of your way now.
Oh yeah, no problem. You're giving me time to find what I'm looking for. So you know what? I'm rather than let's see. This is so painful. All right. This is a close-up of a NASA picture. This is what we typically see on the moon. Okay, when we see a NASA picture of anywhere, it's like this. It has the bright areas, the medium gray areas, and sometimes some dark areas. And all right, so I have some closer pictures this time. So now I'm going to take some of that brightness away, and things start to come out a little bit. And this is the kind of picture you really need to stare into. I'm gonna bring you some more here that are a little bit better, but you see the little like stair steps going up each side of the crater. Can you see that? So all of these little stair steps or well, they're buildings is what they are.
Look like a string of
beads. What I'm talking about? Yeah, it's not just a straight white line. It has these steps. It looks like steps. Anyway, this is the kind of thing you see all over the solar system. They love to build in rows, and they build in exact same kinds of buildings in row after row after row after row. Again, you really cannot imagine or even fathom, once you even see all the pictures, you cannot fathom in your mind the number of people living out there. The population density of every place we're talking about is so far over the top. It's just, so you know what, I'm just gonna click through here. Here's that picture again from a distance. Looks fairly normal, I guess. In this area here, this is probably what they call the center ridge. So the idea is when a meteor has an impact, it has to be a big enough meteor. After the ejecta and after everything's done, there's a rise in the middle. They call the center ridge, and that's what apparently that is. Okay, so back up a little bit. Some of these pictures are nasty. They're not all meant to be seen. I'm just going to do it this way because it's a little bit faster. Now, this is a very gray picture. I wouldn't necessarily have shown this to you, but it does offer us some things. Now, do you see this area right here that I'm circling?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. What does that look like to you? Does that look like dirt or hills, or these are these are structures. Everything you see here is structures.
I see what you mean, yeah.
If you want to look a little closer here in here, now these areas here on the top, these black areas, this, don't forget, this was so white we couldn't see it, right? So when you do things to make it visible, certain other things stand out and don't look normal. And that's what we have with all this real black and white stuff here. But if you look in between it, there's high-rise structures. It's
how do we know? Like when you see a mountain and you see the way the rocks are formed, the natural part of, the structure of a mountain. How do we know that we're not seeing that?
Well, what the thing, okay, one of the things that you have to have in order to see civilization is repetitiveness, right? And what we see, and is what you really need to look for all the time in every one of these pictures, is right angles, okay? So up here we have some rectangular shapes. Do you see what I'm pointing at here?
Yeah.
Okay, those are rectangular shapes that all have right angles, okay? And you even have that right here. You have right angles right here as well. When you look closely, and again, this is the kind of thing and this isn't that great of a picture, but it takes a little bit of time to get a feel for looking at this, some of this stuff. So always some pictures are better than others. I mean, that's just the way it goes. There's a little bit lighter shot of this area here. But, that aside, I mean, I'm seeing very, very tall structures right here. And in fact, this right here looks far larger than what other areas in that crater. But again, there's that one again. I had a couple pretty good shots. Okay, again, whatever you see up here is, it's right angles, flat surfaces, right angles. It isn't pasty, sandy, regolith. There's stuff there. Kind of a bright picture. Okay, so I don't know, how are we doing on time?
We are running a little bit out of time.
Okay. Well,
so,
let me.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, go ahead. I just want to show you these two Mars pictures.
Please.
And they're fairly astounding. Okay.
Did you say Mars pictures?
Yes.
Okay.
Hate to shift gears on you. This is where I've spent the majority of my time. Okay, now, all right, here we go. You need to just, this is a very busy picture. Just try to relax your eyes a little bit because of the nature of this picture. It almost makes your eyes vibrate. But this is I'm not taking credit for this picture. There's a guy by the name of Joseph P. Skipper who has an incredible website. He's like the encyclopedia of these pictures, and he analyzes them. Analyzes them, and it's very, very telling. But this was a NASA picture. Now, he showed it to us in a very, very small form. He says, well, you should get your magnifying glass out and look at it. And me doing the way I do things, I zoomed in on it instead, and this is what I got. So what you have here, this is a structure right here. Okay, do you see that? Mm-hmm. It's a cylindrical building, and it has two long oval openings on it. And then you have other structures like this one here. It's a square structure with sky bridges. They have sky bridges. Here we have this is a cylindrical building right here. It's easy for me to spot, obviously, because I've been looking at this stuff for so long. Now, here's a very tall, skinny, multicolored high-rise.
They look like lots of big chimneys, long tube-looking chimneys.
In a way, yes, they do. I got to say, yeah. And there are many pictures of cities, okay? This is one of the better ones, but there's a lot of them. I've shown quite a few. All right, so one more picture here. Okay. Yeah, this is really insane. Okay. So this is a color picture of Mars. And again, it's not crystal clear, but this, I'm going to just jump right in on the most obvious thing here. This here, I believe, is a building. It's a structure. It has a crane that's going out here over the edge. And one of the reasons I know this is true is, gigapan, or this is what they call a gigapan picture. It starts out as a panoramic. There are actually 3 versions of this picture available. One picture had things in it. The other ones were all completely obfuscated. Okay, now the picture that had this in it is now gone. But before they did that, they actually tried to, well, in the obfuscation, they turned things into sand, or they melt things, whatever. And they've gone through such an effort to change this that it tells you that there's something there, and they felt compelled to change it. There's this area back here, and there's another area over here on the side has what I think is fire. Over here on this side is a building, a series of buildings, and one of them has smoke coming out of it. Okay, what do we not have on Mars, right? We don't have oxygen, right? Well, of course we do, because we have a fire burning, and fire won't burn without oxygen and fuel as well. Anyway, through this valley here are all kinds of white structures. Again, it's not all that clear. You can see the pattern over here on this hillside over here. Very unusual pattern. Buildings. Everything is always buildings. And I want to say something about these gigapan pictures. I have a series of videos called they're of buttes, pictures taken by Curiosity rover. That were magnificent, beautiful panoramic pictures that you could zoom in on. And I spent about 2 years making videos from those pictures. And now all of those pictures have been taken down and removed off the gigapan. They're no longer available. And this has been true for, at least a half a dozen other pictures that I used from NASA that disappeared out of the archive now. I can't go back and show it to you. It's gone. So.
Wow. Well, that is a very interesting picture. You can see the shadows and the structures. It's even on the left-hand side, you can see the shadow that there's a hilly thing going on, and it's quite shaped. And we're still looking at it from a distance away. Like we could be on an aeroplane, but quite very low.
Right, that's right. And this was zoomed in, a long way. So of course, the closer you go, the less the resolution. But I've actually had quite a few videos where I showed this, and I have some really great pictures and maybe some worse pictures, no doubt. But I've done extensive work on this area, and I've tried to get other people. I don't know if you're familiar with Jimmy Roberts, the great Jimmy Roberts. He's one of the best people of putting out these kinds of videos. And I've tried to get him the right picture to use. He keeps using the wrong picture, and now the good picture's gone. So It's been really frustrating.
Well, Tom, it's been, really interesting showing us these pictures. And Ben, thank you. Tom, let me ask you, if there's life on Mars and there's people on Mars, which looks like there is from the pictures, what type of beings are they? How would you describe them?
Well, ask me what you want to see. I have pictures of it all. So I have pictures of people on Mars, and they look just like us. And in fact, the one that got me started in this whole business was a picture of a woman that I got off of another person's video. He didn't see it for some reason. And there she was. And so that was my very first video. I called it The Jumping Woman. Looked just like us, out in the open, wearing capri pants, a tight top, short black hair, and a large chest. I have another one of, again, if I got this out of somebody else's video at first, and then I went and got the picture myself, but it is a picture of a tank, like an army tank, but it looks like a World War I army tank, believe it or not, with a man leaning in it, arms crossed, helmet on, clear as a bell.
Okay.
And more. So they look just like us.
So how about the moon? How about, do you think, what are the people like on the moon?
Well, I've heard different things and I don't know what to believe. My original thought is that, look, on Mars, they look just like us, and they build the same kind of structures on Mars as they do on Venus and all the other places. They all look the same. So I just assume that it's just people, just like us. And this is how we got here. I've estimated that they've had to have been out there for at least a couple 100 million years building these buildings that cover these planets. And so, I'd like to ask you, how much, if we could survive a couple 100 million years as a race, you can't even imagine the knowledge that we would have.
Well,
I call it godlike knowledge,
I mean, unless they've been suppressed because we don't know their society. I mean, do their structures and their land look as advanced as, for an example, New York City?
Well, the picture before this one is yes. To answer your question, yes. There's plenty of pictures of big metropolis cities. Very clear. How do these not get out? I just don't get it. I just don't understand it.
And they're much bigger and better and greater than Dubai, for an example.
Well, for sure, the population density is what it's all about in all these places. Not only is there no room on the ground on Mars and in other places too, they have a layered construction, and it's building on top of building on top of building by the hundreds. I can't even understand how that would work, but there's a very concerted construction going on all the time on Mars, and including dune construction.
Maybe that's why they want to get rid of us, so they can hijack the Earth, because there's just too much room on their planet and they want to expand over here.
They have to be jealous. They have to be jealous.
It could be, yeah. That's good.
Jealous that we have a lot of land.
I had to laugh. Tesla. What's his name?
Elon Musk.
Oh yeah, Elon Musk said that there's hardly anyone living on Earth. We only have like 5 billion people. He goes, you could have meteors come down all the time and no one will get hit. And I quoted him in one of my videos. I says, yeah, well, he's right. I mean, there's hardly anyone on Earth compared to other places. And this is another thing. It brings up something. I'll make it really quick. These craters, every crater that I've seen on the moon so far in other places are not craters. They're not real. And so you have planets that are completely covered with buildings, and they're not going to show impact craters because they're covered with buildings. They look like craters, but they're not craters. We can get into it some other time. I'm sorry. I get going. I just can't stop.
I love it. No, it's so interesting. It's one of those topics where there's so much to talk about and explore, and it can go for a long time, and it's really interesting. But Tom and Ben, it's been great having you both. Thank you very, very much. Is there anything that you'd both like to say to the viewers before we finish? Tom, you can go first.
Well, in this day and age, there's a lot of people not believing anything our government says. And when it comes to anything with space, don't believe it. It's not true. You know, the narrative with the Webb telescope, right? They're looking out in space to find life. You know, look out here. We've found all these planets. They're out there. There's probably life out there. They're keeping our focus away from the solar system. That's what they're doing.
And that's why Bill Gates, just interject, I want to interject here. That's why Bill Gates wants to buy up all the land. It's like they really want to suppress us. They want to tell us all the lies so that we're completely clueless and just take over everything and own everything. And then you're showing us that they're just full of structures on top of another in the other, you know, so who knows? And they're lying to us about that as well. So who knows? That could be something big. How about you, Ben? Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish?
Yes, thank you for having Tom and myself on again today, and the other times that you've had me on. And thanks always to Michelle Fielding, the great door opener she is, and I really thank her as well. And but it's been nice being with your viewers, and we look forward maybe to another trip back with you in the future, and to share the things that we're finding out there, because we are finding lots of things. There's oxygen on the moon, according to Jason Rice and Tommy, the other people that are in the secret space program. They talked about the breathable oxygen also on Mars, and Tony Rodriguez was one of them also. And they talked about you had the mask, but you didn't have to have it on. So I guess you could acclimate to the oxygen level on Mars. It's the same as on the moon, like Lear said. He said it takes a little bit of acclimating, but you could function. And we know there's lots there. And I'm like Tom. I think there's more by far population on the moon alone than Earth, according to what we're seeing here. But we didn't get really deep into what all we have. But maybe Nick, another time you might want.
I would love to. I would love to have you both on again, and we can go through, you know, a continuation of today. How does that sound?
Well,
thank you.
That'd be fantastic. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on the show, Nicholas. It's a little healing, I gotta say.
I'm glad. I'm glad, and for me too. No, thank you. Okay,
we appreciate you, Nick.
I appreciate you too, and the viewers definitely appreciate you too. And thank you very much. And we'll catch up again soon, okay, for part 2. Okay.
Yes,
that was great. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.